The orbital glow of Aegis Interstellar Academy shimmered like a halo against the blue giant star behind it, cold, vast, unforgiving. Ships of every species drifted around it like insects orbiting a lantern. Inside one of the docking rings, a quiet human girl stepped out with a single duffel bag and the calm breathing of someone who didn't belong here but refused to flinch. Rhea Morgan didn't walk like a warrior or a prodigy. She walked like someone trying very hard not to disturb anything. Her movements were precise, deliberate, almost gentle. The alien cadets waiting in the reception hall barely glanced at her before smirking to each other. A human at an elite academy meant jokes for days. The entry scanner hummed as she approached. Lights flickered. A warning beep echoed. Then the entire frame glowed crimson for half a second before abruptly resetting. A few cadets laughed. Human biology breaks the cheap scanners, one jeered. No armor, no augmentations. She'll last an hour, another added. Rhea simply offered a polite nod and stepped aside, letting a towering reptilian cadet pass first. He made a theatrical show of looking down at her, blocking her path with a grin so wide his fangs caught the light. Rhea tried stepping left. He shifted left. She tried right. He shifted again. "Excuse me," she said softly. The reptilian blinked, confused, then disappointed. He wanted defiance, fear, anything to react to. Getting nothing unsettled him in a way he didn't understand. He finally stepped aside. Rhea bowed her head slightly in thanks and continued walking. Two instructors stood ahead, distributing wrist sleeves and training schedules. The eldest, a multi-eyed Avrexian named Valtheri, scanned the new arrivals with detached authority, until his eyes fell upon the human. The way she stood, weight balanced, spine aligned, hands relaxed, triggered an ancient instinct inside him. His species had evolved under constant threat from night-stalking predators. Something in Rhea's stillness resembled that evolutionary memory. He forced the sensation away. It made no logical sense. Humans were fragile mammals from a death world, yes, but statistically average at best. Valtheri resumed his orientation lecture. The Academy will assess you today with baseline reaction testing. You will follow all directives, and you will not attempt to modify the equipment. If you break protocol, you will be expelled. A few cadets chuckled, especially two standing near the back, Zyrak, the reptilian brute from earlier, and Zuriel, a wiry telepath whose vibrant markings signaled mischief as much as intelligence. Both whispered while eyeing Rhea. "She'll freeze," Zyrak muttered. "She'll scream," Zuriel agreed. "She might faint before the bolt even fires. We should speed things along." Their hushed laughter trailed behind the group as the cadets moved through arched corridors toward the central training hall. The moment the doors opened, a wave of heat washed out. The testing arena was a chamber built for humiliation, floating platforms, plasma projectors, impact shields, and anti-grav fields designed to strip a cadet of their pride in under 5 minutes. Generations of elite warriors had learned here that they weren't as exceptional as they believed. Rhea looked around, taking in everything without appearing to. Her eyes drifted across the walls, studying each projector, each panel, each potential trajectory. Not with excitement, more with the quiet awareness of someone counting exits in a crowded room. The instructor barked orders. "Line up. When your name is called, step into the circle. Level 1 plasma will fire. Do not attempt to catch it. This is only to measure reflex timing." A few aliens in the front snickered at the idea of a human needing such a warning. Rhea stood at the back, silent. The group went one by one. Some dodged gracefully. Others let the shield fields absorb the impact. A few overconfident species demanded higher-level bolts just to show off. Valtheri tolerated their arrogance with weary patience. Then Rhea's name was called. She stepped forward slowly, as though afraid her footsteps were too loud. The circle's lights activated under her feet. The arena's temperature dropped half a degree, the projectors charging for a standard shot. But across the room, Zyrak and Zuriel were already at a control panel, pretending to sync their wrist sleeves with the projector settings. Their fingers moved with practiced ease. A few overrides. A bypassed safety lock. The projector's hum deepened. Valtheri's eyes snapped toward the source of the sound. That hum belonged to a much higher level charge. Level 3? No, level 4. No, he felt his gut twist. Level 6. Stop, he shouted. But the bolt fired before the command reached the projector. A deep blue sphere of plasma tore through the air, a killing strike, not a training shot. The heat warped the platform edges. A wave of pressure rolled outward, throwing several cadets backward. Someone screamed. But Rhea didn't. She simply raised her hand. The plasma bolt struck her palm and stopped. Stopped. It compressed against her skin like molten metal pressed into cold steel. Energy spiraled around her wrist, flickering, fighting, trying to escape. Her expression didn't even flinch. The arena fell into absolute silence. Her glove began to glow. A few threads burned away. Rhea tilted her head, examining the trembling ball of lethal energy as if it were a malfunctioning toy. Then, gently, almost apologetically, she squeezed. The bolt collapsed inward with a soft hiss, dissolving into harmless particles. Around her, alien cadets stared with open terror. A few stumbled backward. One insectoid cadet curled into a ball, overwhelmed by instinctive panic. Valtheri's voice caught in his throat. He couldn't speak. Couldn't breathe. The Academy scanner activated automatically, projecting a hollow above her head. Data streamed. Stuttered. Glitched. Tried again. Level unknown. Level unreadable. Level error. Level imp. Then the lights dimmed. A soft whisper escaped the system, barely audible. Level impossible. It wasn't a classification. It was a warning. The panic was immediate. Cadets leaped away from her. A few instructors activated emergency barriers. Security drones descended from the ceiling. The entire hall buzzed with the raw fear of creatures who had just witnessed something that should not exist. Zyrak fell to his knees, trembling. Zuriel backed into a wall, eyes wide, hands shaking uncontrollably. And Rhea Morgan stood in the center of it all, hands at her sides, confused and sorry. "I didn't mean to scare anyone," she whispered. Her voice, soft and sincere, frightened them more than any violence could have. Valtheri finally forced himself to speak. "Cadet Morgan, you will come with us. Now." Rhea nodded once, calm as ever. As she walked toward the upper tower with armed drones surrounding her, the Academy halls buzzed with a single echoing word. Impossible. And far above, watching through a private feed, a council observer whispered. "If this human is real, the galaxy just changed." The containment chamber wasn't meant for cadets. It was meant for war criminals, telepaths who could melt neural pathways or war beasts capable of tearing through alloyed steel. Yet Rhea Morgan sat inside it as if she were waiting for a routine medical checkup. Her hands rested in her lap. Her breathing stayed calm. The humming red grid around her pulsed with the kind of intensity reserved for predators. Director Schall observed her through the transparent barrier, crystalline fingers tapping the console with restrained agitation. He ran the footage again, the plasma bolt hitting her palm, compressing, dissolving. Every time he watched it, the impossible nature of the act tightened his chest. The door behind him slid open. 3 alien scientists entered, each representing a species known for analytical precision. Their eyes all landed on the quiet human girl. "Begin the biological scan," Schall ordered. Rhea watched politely as a thin beam swept across her body. The chamber lights flickered as if straining to process what they detected. Data projected onto the wall behind her, full of anomalies. "Cellular density is inconsistent with known human parameters," murmured the insectoid xenobiologist. "Elasticity levels are extremely high." "How high?" asked the crystalline scientist. "In this reading?" "Comparable to Class X apex fauna." The type that regenerate after plasma burns. Another scientist stepped forward. Thermal resistance readings are conflicting. Look, when she caught the bolt, her surface temperature barely shifted. A human should show severe trauma. She shows none. Rhea blinked. Should I be concerned? No, Shao replied quickly, though his voice betrayed uncertainty. You're not under accusation. We just need to understand. I'm sorry I damaged your equipment, Rhea said softly. I didn't mean to. The alien researchers exchanged glances. Her apology frightened them more than any display of force would have. Someone that strong should not speak with such gentleness. Before they could continue, alarms rang outside the chamber. Boot steps echoed. 2 security officers dragged Zyrak and Zuriel into the adjoining interrogation room. Both saboteurs looked physically intact, but psychologically shattered. The walls were thin enough for voices to bleed through. I didn't know, she wasn't supposed to survive, level 6 should have vaporized her, Zyrak stammered. She caught it, Zuriel whispered, shaking violently. She caught a plasma star in her hand. She looked at it like it was nothing. Shal activated a sound barrier, but Rhea had already heard enough. Her eyes dimmed with concern. They didn't mean to kill me, she said. They were just being cruel. Cruelty at level 6 is attempted murder, Shal replied sharply. Yet you protected them. It wasn't their fault the bolt was unstable, Rhea answered quietly. Her calm defense made Zyrak's testimony sound even more panicked by contrast. The scientists stared at her through the barrier, bewildered, unsettled, and slowly terrified by what her restraint implied. A sudden flicker lit the chamber. A high-ranking hologram materialized, the Galactic Council's crest in shimmering gold. Every scientist straightened. The projector expanded into a full virtual chamber. Council members from dozens of species filled the projection in solemn silence. A deep, resonant voice addressed Shaw. We have reviewed the footage. Human cadet Rhea Morgan must undergo enhanced capability testing. Until evaluation is complete, Earth's diplomatic ties are suspended. Shaw stiffened. Suspended? With respect, this girl is a student, not a threat. A reptilian counselor hissed, she absorbed lethal plasma. That act alone violates known physical laws. A crystalline representative added, her biology registered level impossible. The galaxy cannot ignore this. Rhea stepped forward. If I cooperate, will Earth be punished? The council went silent. The hesitation was answer enough. We must ensure you are safe for interstellar society, the hologram finally said. Valtheri suddenly entered the room, breath sharp, posture rigid. You cannot treat her like a weapon. Zuriel's voice cracked through the barrier again, trembling. Weapon? She's worse. She's something the galaxy wasn't meant to. Silence. Shao ordered, though he was visibly shaken. The council resumed. Enhanced testing will proceed immediately. The hologram vanished, leaving the chamber colder. Rhea exhaled once, gathering herself. If this helps everyone feel safer, I'll do it. Valtheri turned to her. They're not trying to understand you. They're trying to measure whether you can be contained. I know, she whispered. But hurting them would only prove their fears. Her clarity hit him harder than the plasma bolt had hit her. Moments later, the chamber shifted configuration. The walls moved, the floor lowered, and Rhea was escorted into a facility deep beneath the academy, a place most cadets never saw. Scientists scrambled around advanced test rigs, pressure chambers, neural monitors, and plasma arrays. The first test began without warning. A high-pressure antigrav field slammed into her, meant to crush a normal human flat. Rhea stepped forward through it. Her hair fluttered. Her expression remained neutral. The scientists murmured in fear. Next came a plasma trajectory simulation, dozens of microbolts fired in chaotic patterns. Rhea dodged some, caught others, deflected a few with her forearm. The sensors melted trying to track her movement. Then they lowered oxygen to lethal levels. Instructors watched, expecting her to collapse. Rhea sat down, breathing slowly, her heartbeat steady. By the fourth trial, whispers filled the observation deck. She's adapting. No human can do that. She's evolving mid-test. Rhea's body didn't change visibly, but her timing became sharper, her posture more refined, her precision more absolute. Under stress, her biology wasn't deteriorating, it was optimizing. Shal stared at the data with growing dread. This should not be happening. Valfari spoke quietly. Deathworld species never behave the way we expect. The final trial involved a direct neural projection, a psychological assault meant to test mental resilience. Images of panic, death, and cosmic threats were projected into her mind. Most cadets broke in under a second. Rhea blinked once. Twice. Then the neural projector overloaded and shut down. "I think something is wrong with your machine," she said gently. The technicians stepped away from the console like it might explode. Hours passed. Dozens of tests. None revealed weakness. None showed augmentation. None made sense. By the time the evaluation ended, half the academy staff stood in silent panic. The other half refused to speak at all. The council reconvened on Hollow. A vote was called. Should the human girl be classified as a Class S entity, a potential galactic threat? One side argued yes. The other argued no. The vote tied. Only one voice remained to cast the deciding vote. A shimmering figure appeared in the center of the room, tall, armored, scarred from old battles. Admiral Karel. Everyone knew his history. Decades ago, he encountered humans on the frontier. Survived them. Barely. He had spent years warning the Council that humanity was unpredictable. Now he looked at Rhea Morgan with haunted recognition. "I know your kind," he said softly. "I've seen what humans become when cornered." Rhea swallowed. "I don't want to fight anyone." "I believe you," he replied. "But belief is not the question." He raised his hand. "I will not cast my vote until I see for myself what you truly are." Rhea's eyes lifted, steady as ever. "What do you want me to do?" "A live combat simulation," he said. 10 elite cadets. Against you." The room went silent. Shal spoke first. "Admiral, that is excessive." "No," Karel replied. "It's necessary." Rhea lowered her head. "I'll try not to hurt them." The Admiral inhaled sharply. That promise, spoken so softly, shook him worse than the plasma footage ever had. The arena rebuilt itself into a battlefield the moment Admiral Karel authorized the test. Terrain plates shifted, rising into jagged platforms and angled barricades. Tactical drones drifted overhead like metallic birds of prey. The stands filled with instructors, scientists, and council observers, all watching the lone human girl step into the center of the combat field with quiet resolve. 10 elite cadets waited on the opposite side, armored, enhanced, and genetically superior to the average soldier of their species. Each carried a specialized weapon calibrated for non-lethal but high-impact combat, concussive staffs, plasma arcs, adaptive shields. Rhea had nothing. Karel descended the stairs with the slow, imposing presence of someone who had survived battles entire fleets had not. His eyes lingered on her face, searching for malice, hunger, dominance, anything to justify fear. He found none. "You may surrender at any point," he said. "I'll do my best not to harm anyone," she answered. The quiet sincerity of the statement made several cadets swallow hard. A shrill tone signaled the beginning of the simulation. The cadets moved instantly, trained reflexes kicking into fluid coordination. 2 sprinted toward her left flank, 3 approached from the right, and a towering 4-armed brute charged head-on, intending to overwhelm her immediately. Rhea shifted her footing. Just a small motion. But everything changed. The brute swung first, a blow meant to floor an armored opponent. Rhea stepped aside with barely a whisper of movement. The cadet's momentum threw him off-center, and before he could recover, she lightly tapped the back of his leg. Not enough to break anything, just enough to send him tumbling headfirst into a barrier with a muffled thud. He was unconscious before he hit the ground. The crowd froze. The attackers hesitated for half a breath too long. Rhea moved. Her body flowed through the battlefield like water poured across uneven stone, soft, fluid, effortless. She ducked beneath a plasma arc, twisted around a descending staff, moved through narrow gaps no human should fit into. She didn't attack. She redirected, countered, sidestepped, or guided her opponent's force into empty space. Every motion seemed predicted a heartbeat before it happened. One cadet tried to pin her with a grav shield. Rhea felt the distortion in the air and slipped behind him before he even stabilized the field. She gently tapped the shield's weak point. It collapsed, sending the cadet sprawling. Another lunge from behind, thinking she was distracted. Rhea pivoted, caught the weapon mid-swing between two fingers, and flicked it aside as though it were a loose branch. The cadet froze, realizing she could have snapped his arm from the angle she held. But she didn't. She stepped back, giving him space to retreat. He took it without hesitation. The instructors exchanged silent looks. No species, none, possessed this level of instinctive, natural restraint under threat. Most apex predators struck first, then evaluated. Rhea evaluated constantly and refused to strike unless necessary. Then, midway through the simulation, her breathing shifted. Not from fatigue. From calculation. She began moving even faster, her reaction sharpening, her posture narrowing, her gaze sweeping the battlefield with eerie precision. The scanners went wild. Her neural conductivity is increasing, a scientist whispered. She's adapting again, another said, horrified. This isn't augmentation, this is endogenous. As the pressure escalated around her, Rhea's biology responded, quietly, efficiently, invisibly. Her muscles tightened, her senses sharpened, her spatial prediction refined itself into something terrifyingly accurate. 3 cadets tried a synchronized assault, thinking teamwork would overwhelm her. They never got close. Rhea's body rotated, pivoted, and slipped through their formation with delicate steps. She tapped one on the wrist, disarming her. She brushed another's shoulder, sending him stumbling into the third. In seconds, all 3 were disarmed, breathing hard, staring at her with wide, shaken eyes. Rhea exhaled softly. Please stop. You might get hurt. None dared approach after that. Admiral Karel felt a cold weight settle in his chest. He had seen humans fight before, raw, desperate, determined. But this was different. This wasn't desperation. It wasn't aggression. It was control so absolute it bordered on unnatural. He finally understood why the Council was afraid. But he also understood why the galaxy needed her. The simulation timer neared completion when a sudden blaring alarm cut through the arena. A harsh red strobe lit the air. A mechanical voice overrode every system. Unidentified vessels breaching perimeter. External weapon signatures detected. Impact imminent. The cadets froze. Valtheri looked up sharply. Shaw's crystalline form flickered with alarm. Karel snapped into action. Emergency shields, activate. But they were too late. The ceiling erupted. A blast tore through the upper dome, sending metal shards in a devastating cascade. 20 plasma disruptor beams rained downward toward the unarmored spectators and cadets. Rhea didn't hesitate. Her body moved before the alarm finished echoing. She leaped forward, catching the first plasma bolt with her bare hand. It hissed against her skin before collapsing. She pivoted, snatching the second bolt, then the third, redirecting them into the fractured dome. The fourth shot streaked toward 2 cadets still frozen in fear. Rhea threw herself between them and the blast, absorbing the impact across her torso. The bolt flared against her ribs, dissipating into crackling sparks. The stands erupted in screams. Rhea's eyes sharpened, not in rage, but focus. She sprinted toward the collapsing ceiling, dodging falling debris, catching 2 more bolts in her palms and crushing them like fragile embers. The attackers outside fired again, wide scattershots meant to kill everything below. Rhea leaped. Her fingers caught a falling plasma conduit thrumming with unstable heat. She didn't slow. She spun, launched it upward like a javelin, and sent it through the breach. The impact detonated against the attacker's hull in a blinding burst. The rogue vessel lurched, engines sputtering, retreating under the sudden counter-assault from one unarmed human girl. Silence filled the arena once the dust settled. Smoke drifted down in soft trails. Cracked tiles cooled beneath scattered embers. Then Rhea turned. She stood in the center of the destruction, breathing heavily, hands scorched, suit torn, but alive. Around her, dozens of alien cadets huddled together, untouched, safe because she had been faster than the devastation. Admiral Karel stared at her, his fear slowly reshaping itself into something else: respect, awe, and a quiet, reluctant hope. "Why?" he asked, voice low. "Why risk yourself for us?" Rhea wiped soot from her cheek. "Because you were in danger." "You owe us nothing," he said. "I don't need a reason to help people." Karel inhaled slowly. The trembling in his hands stopped. The council hollow reappeared above the stadium. Their voices overlapped with frantic urgency, demands, fears, accusations, until Karel raised a hand. "My vote," he announced, "is no longer uncertain." The chamber hushed. "I will not classify humanity as a threat. Not today. Not ever. This girl risked her life for ours, even after everything we've done. That is not the instinct of a destroyer. That is the instinct of a guardian." Valfari bowed his head. Shaw nodded once. Even the cadets who had mocked Rhea stared with new understanding. A new status flashed across the council display. Rhea Morgan, asset of galactic stability. Protected entity. Rhea lowered her gaze, overwhelmed but silent. Later, alone near the viewport overlooking the blue giant star, she whispered something only the empty room could hear. "I hope I can live up to that." Behind her, the Academy AI flickered softly, repeating the same whispered verdict it had spoken during the scan. "Level, impossible." This time, the voice didn't tremble. It sounded almost proud.